When you step off a small boat into a quiet Greenland fjord, the first thing that surprises you is the color. You might expect endless white ice stretching in every direction, a frozen wilderness, but that is not what greets you. Instead, the land appears unexpectedly alive. Thin layers of green grass cling stubbornly to the slopes. Moss spreads across rocks polished by wind and sea. The fjord water is dark and perfectly still, reflecting the surrounding cliffs like a mirror. The air is sharp and cold, so clean it almost burns when you breathe it in. And then, after a moment, you notice something unusual in the distance. At first, it almost blends into the earth itself. A house, or rather, something that looks like part of the hillside. Smoke quietly rises from what appears to be the ground. More than 1,000 years ago, Norse settlers built a functioning farming society here on the harsh edge of the Arctic. This was not a temporary camp, not a brief expedition. It was a community. But that raises an obvious question. How could a settlement like this possibly survive? No forests, no easy supplies, and months of brutal winter darkness. Today, we're going to step into Viking Greenland and experience how this settlement actually worked, piece by piece, until it no longer feels like distant history, but like a real place where real people once lived. Because the most surprising truth about Viking Greenland is not the cold, it's that the system they built here actually functioned, but only barely. One broken link in the chain, and the entire settlement could collapse. So the story begins where every story in Greenland truly begins, with the water. Walk along the rocky shoreline and listen carefully. Your boots scrape against loose stones. The fjord lies quiet before you, but it is not peaceful. The silence here feels watchful. Then you realize something important. This is not simply a coastline. It is a highway. During the Viking Age, the sea served as the primary transportation network. Fjords connected farms the same way streets connect houses inside a town. In the distance, a small boat glides slowly across the dark water. It rides low, heavily loaded with cargo. Which raises another question. What valuable goods could possibly be transported from a place where almost no trees grow? Hold on to that thought. In a moment, you will see the single resource that made these settlements worth the risk. But first, follow the narrow path that leads inland. The ground rises gently as you walk uphill, and suddenly the farm appears. From far away, it looked nothing more than a mound of earth, but up close, you realize something remarkable. This structure was carefully engineered. The walls are thick, built from layers of turf stacked like bricks. At the base, stones protect the structure from moisture that would quickly rot wooden walls. The roof is heavy, almost blending into the surrounding landscape. This isn't just a building style, it's survival architecture. You duck through a low doorway and step inside. Immediately, the world feels smaller. Firelight flickers softly across the room. Smoke gathers near the ceiling. Every inch of space inside the house serves a purpose. There is no wasted area. Every beam supports something. Every corner stores supplies, because winter will test every weakness in this structure. Step outside again. The house may be the center of the farm, but it is only one piece of a larger machine. Look across the farmyard. You see small storage huts, work areas, tools stacked carefully against walls, buckets and ropes used for daily tasks. And then you hear them. Animals. Livestock were the heart of the settlement. Cattle, sheep, goats. They represented food, milk, wool, and survival. But they also represented risk, because winter does not only threaten people, it threatens the animals first. And if the livestock die, the settlement will not struggle, it will end. Follow the path again, this time toward the open fields beyond the farm. Here you discover the true center of Greenland's Viking economy.
Grass. Not wheat, not fruit orchards, just grass. It is cut carefully, dried in the brief summer sun, stacked and protected from rain. Every bundle of hay represents another day of survival during the long winter. Farmers constantly calculate how much they must store, how much food each cow requires, how many animals they can safely support. Nothing here is casual farming. It is agricultural logistics performed under extreme pressure. Which raises another question. If life here is so difficult, why would anyone choose to live in Greenland? Part of the answer lies beyond farming: identity. Continue walking past the farmhouse, and you reach another building, a small church. It looks modest, almost fragile against the landscape, but its presence sends a powerful message. A church means permanence. These settlers did not see themselves as temporary explorers. They believed they were building a lasting society. The church served as a gathering place for the community. News traveled here, marriages were recognized here, the dead were remembered here. If you stand quietly for a moment, you can almost imagine it. Figures arriving from neighboring farms, boots muddy from travel, cloaks stiff with wind. They greet each other with quiet familiarity. Faith here is not decoration, it is structure. But the church reveals something else as well. These people still saw themselves as part of a much larger world. Which brings us back to the fjord and the boats. By summer, the entire settlement begins to move differently. Greenland's summer is not simply warm weather, it is a window of opportunity. A short season when travel becomes possible and trade networks come alive. Boats move more frequently across the water, supplies are transported between farms, visitors arrive from distant settlements. Work accelerates everywhere. At a small landing site along the shore, you see the evidence. Large stones have been worn smooth by generations of use. A boat rests on the beach, pulled safely above the tide. Nearby, bundles of cargo wait to be moved inland. And once again, curiosity returns. If trees are scarce here, where do tools come from? Where does iron come from? How can a society function in a place that produces so few raw materials? The answer lies inside a small storage building. Barrels, bundles, carefully wrapped goods. And here, the settlement finally reveals its secret. Greenland is valuable. Not because it is comfortable, but because it produces rare materials that other parts of the world desperately want. These exports connect Greenland to distant markets across the North Atlantic. Ships arrive carrying metal tools, timber, and supplies. Ships leave carrying precious cargo. Trade keeps the settlement alive. Without it, Greenland would become an isolated experiment. With it, the community becomes part of a wider economic world. Now, bring the focus back to the human scale, because to truly understand this place, you must imagine a full day of life here. Morning begins with a steel-gray fjord and cold wind moving across the water. Smoke rises slowly from turf roofs as people step outside to begin work. Idleness feels dangerous in a place like this. Tools are repaired, ropes are tightened, animals are checked. By midday, the fields become busy with activity. Grass is cut, turned, and stacked into hay. At first, the work seems repetitive, but every movement carries urgency. Winter is coming. In the afternoon, a boat might arrive, a neighbor might visit, a message from another farm might finally reach the settlement. Because isolation is normal here, contact is precious. As evening approaches, the light lingers longer than expected. The sky turns pale gold before fading slowly into twilight. Work slows, animals settle. Someone checks the hay storage again, carefully, almost protectively, because those stacks of grass represent survival. And suddenly, Viking Greenland no longer feels like a distant legend. It feels like a real place, a place shaped by difficult choices. And for a time, those choices worked. At its height, the Norse settlements in Greenland supported thousands of people. This was not a frozen prison. It was a carefully designed farming society built along the fjords, powered by grass, boats, and discipline. And the story does not end here, because next we could explore something even more immersive. A full winter spent inside a Viking longhouse, or a busy Greenland harbor day where ships arrive and cargo moves across the docks. If you'd like to see the next recreation, let me know, and join us as we continue bringing lost worlds back to life.